Chapter 5. It's late morning by the time I finally arrive at work. Eloise looks calm and relaxed, unfazed by the morning rush which has now simmered to a vague trickle of ski widows popping in for hot chocolates and coffees after hitting the resort's very few shops. Our time spent working under Mrs. B at her tea room in Oxford really prepared us well for working under pressure. I head quickly behind the kiosk and into the kitchen as Eloise follows me and gives me a friendly hug. It's a huge relief to see her, to be able to share the events of the morning. "Thanks for opening up the coffee shop for me," I say, unzipping Dan's jacket and hanging it up in the staff closet. "Was it horribly busy?" Eloise gives me a cheeky smile. "Nothing I couldn't handle. I was more worried about you. Dan told me what happened. It's so awful, that poor boy." I turn on the taps and cover up my hands in soap, interlocking fingers and rubbing the back of my knuckles into my palms. It feels oddly ceremonial, like I'm washing off all the bad things that have happened. My hopes and excitement about meeting Inga, how childish it all feels in light of what happened to the boy, my annoyance about Inga, changing Nicholas's Olympic specialty at the last minute, the blood from the boy, the ferocity of Bastian's dislike of me, how he sees me as someone who interferes, not as someone who just happened to find the boy whilst being out on the slopes for a bit of exercise and relaxation. "Here," says Eloise, throwing me a cloth and turning off the taps. "I'm sure it'll all be okay. We'll get through it. You sure you want to get back to work? I mean, I don't mind covering, if you want to sit and chill for a bit. We've all got plenty of time before the lunchtime rush. Maybe sit with Dan. Might help you never know." "Dan?" I ask. "Yeah," says Eloise as I follow her out of the kitchen and see her pointing at a table in the corner. "He's there, with a vet." It takes my eyes a moment to connect with my brain, to make sense of the two of them sat at the table with the log fire, hands wrapped around warm mugs, Dan with his ski goggle panda eyes. "Yvette." "You sure you're okay, Maddie?" asks Eloise. I nod that I am. So that's her name. The girl with the broken snowboard and torn clothing. The girl sat with Dan, my Dan, smiling at him, laughing, joking a little as he does what he does best, as he comforts her. There's something about the sensation of seeing her with Dan that makes me feel uncomfortable. The stranger, hanging out with my friend, like they've known each other for years, and I suddenly feel annoyed at him because he's left me to struggle with Bastian, told me that he had to rush back to open the ski shop, that he needed to walk her home because she was so shaken and cold. All this time I was on my own, when he could have stayed and supported me. The girl sat by the fire with him, wearing my coat as if it belonged to her. "OMG, says Eloise as I roll up my sleeves and tie the apron behind my back. "You're jealous." "I'm not," I say. "We're just friends. But I am feeling something. Something I don't like, something in my gut, in my instinct, alarm bells ringing. Maybe I am jealous, maybe that's all it is. But why now?" "It's her," I say. "I mean, who is she? What do we actually know about her? Don't you think it's odd that she shows up right after we found the boy? Do we really buy into the whole argument with the tree thing, for why she lost her ski boots? And why are her clothes all torn?" "I think," says Eloise, dangling an arm across my shoulders to jolly me up, "that you're second-guessing yourself after what happened with Sophia poisoning the donut and trying to pin it on you. It makes sense that you'd find it hard to trust a stranger, after everything that happened. I know I do." I give a little shrug, glad to have my best friend by my side, the person who has known me since kindergarten, who knows my insecurities better than anyone. "Maybe, I guess." There's a loud noise to the side of us as the door of the Snow Mountain Cafe opens stiffly, wood swollen with the damp and cold. The sound of boots on the tile floor as Nicholas's Polish girlfriend, Violetta, stamps soft snow on the rubber mat. "So," she says excitedly, "how was it?" I stare at her blankly. "Okay," she says. "That good then. Meeting your childhood hero. Weren't you supposed to be meeting Inga, the incredible snowboarder that you've been going on and on about for weeks and weeks, boring us all to tears?" "Oh," I say, "that." "Green tea for Emilio, I'm guessing. Take out?" asks Eloise, turning to Violetta and setting up a lid and cup. "Honestly, he's so predictable. I bet he's even given you the exact change to pay for it too." Violetta slaps the coins on the counter and pushes them towards Eloise. I know, says Violetta. You'd think owning a coffee shop would at least give you some perks. But nope, not Emilio. Everything by the book with that man. Mind you, can't say I blame him after Bastian's falling for Sophia and blaming Audrey's murder on him. Eloise laughs. Bastian blames anyone and everyone for everything. You know what he's like, especially folks dealing in dangerous drugs like sugar and caffeine. Giggles Violetta, leaning on the counter, as Eloise finishes up Emilio's green tea. Right, says Eloise, which basically makes me a drug dealer then. Can you imagine that on my Oxford University application? So then, Eloise, how exactly did you spend your gap year? Well, let me see. I was a suspect in a murder inquiry and then I dealt drugs on a daily basis. Don't let Bastian hear you talking like that, says Violetta. You don't know what crime he'll bring you in for next. And that's when it occurs to me that if Violetta hasn't heard about Inga not showing up, then she doesn't know about the boy, and that Nicholas is most likely Bastian's main suspect. I take it you haven't heard from Nicholas then, I ask. Violetta pulls the cup of green tea towards her across the counter. Not since last night, she says. Why? Should I have? I know we've both been super busy, what with Emilio opening the new ski yoga studio and Nicholas getting ready to train with Inga before his Olympic tryouts. So, you've not seen Nicholas today then? You haven't heard about Inga? I ask. Violetta shakes her head, her face dropping as she detects the serious tone in my voice. Inga didn't show up, I say. Last night at the airport. Oh, says Violetta. That's a bit weird. Did she miss her flight? Surprised Nicholas didn't text me about something as important as that. How is he? How did he take it? Yeah, I say. He's fine. He took it really well. Better than I would have taken it anyway. But that's not all. Thing is, Inga left a message for him this morning at the chalet. Says she's changed his tryouts. Wants him to do biathlon instead. But he couldn't have texted you. Miriam has his phone. He left it in his pocket before we went to meet Inga. Only Miriam must have taken his hoodie, so he doesn't even know if Inga called and left him a message. Seriously, says Violetta. I don't know how you guys put up with that Miriam. If she turned up at my place out of the blue like that, there's no way I'd let her crash on my sofa. I guess it's easier to say than to do when it's family, says Eloise. But I'm totally with you. The sooner we get shot of her, the better, if you ask me. And I'm already fed up of her eating all my cereal. There was nothing left when I went to get breakfast this morning. I only brought it on the way home last night. I tell you, Maddie, there's no way I'm sharing a house with anyone other than you when we start at Oxford. I'm totally done with having housemates. Well, apart from you, Nicholas and Karlovs. To be fair, I say, I'm not sure we're exactly a catch when you look at our house share credentials. I mean, if you include the fact that I've been a suspect in 2 murder inquiries and befriended at least 1 murderer in my first few weeks as a housemate. Violetta does a double take as she moves her gaze between my face and Eloise's. 2 murders, she says sarcastically. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. Unless there's something you're not telling me. Who have you bumped off now? There's a silence between us, my focus distracted, my eyes catching Dan's as he hears my voice at the counter. Must have heard all the giggling. He waves at me, gesturing me to come over and join them. Yvette's eyes watching him, her body leaning in towards his. Fragile, delicate, captivating. I can't tell if she's genuinely naive and innocent or whether she's being intentional. I've seen her type before. In Sophia, in the way Sophia moved herself, and in how she managed to convince Bastian of her being the victim in it all. Am I misreading the body language? Am I simply being too harsh on Yvette? Is she really an innocent bystander? I turn to look at Violetta. Sorry, I say. What did you say? Eloise nudges my elbows, causing me to collapse momentarily on the counter. Oh, don't mind Maddie, she says. She's just in love. I am not, I say. I told you, we're just friends. I can hear Dan's steps close by, and I know that she'll be close behind him in her bare feet. Hey, says Dan, and it's hard not to ignore him. The girl stares at the floor in silence, passing my jacket feebly in the direction of Dan and giving him a momentary blink, as if he's her knight in shining armour and the rest of us are monsters, out for her blood, that we have wounded her somehow. Dan hands me my coat. Thanks, he says. You're a lifesaver. Sorry, he says. God, that was a bad choice of words. Anyway, you know what I mean. I can feel my face flush, Violetta and Eloise trying to figure me out. I want to yell at them, to explain that I don't fancy Dan, that we're just friends. But I can't with Dan stood right there, his arm outstretched. I take the jacket from him. I want to tell him he can keep it, that I don't want it after it's been around her shoulders. I don't understand why I feel the way I do, and now Dan is watching me too. So, he says, staring at my eyes, smiling at me warmly. Can we swap back then? Can I get my coat back? Yvette will need it, so I can walk her home. There's something irritating about the way he says her name, about how close they have become in just the few hours since we found the body together. Everything has changed, and I don't know why, but I just can't bring myself to return his jacket to him, to have it put around her, to have him comfort her, to trust her, the stranger, the girl we know nothing about, who seems to have got her claws into him. He lied to me, lied about going back to work and about walking her home, only to spend the morning here with her. I don't know why I say it, but I do. You can't, I say. Dan looks a bit taken aback. Bastien, he needs it. He took it from me, said it was evidence. Evidence, says Violetta, half joking. Eloise knows I'm lying. She saw me take off his coat and hang it out back, less than a few metres from where we're standing. She says nothing, but I know she's going to be on my case about this as soon as we're alone. I ignore Eloise, instead turning my attention to Violetta, taking the green tea from her hands, fearing she might drop it as I place it on the counter. I'm afraid so, I say. There was a body by the chairlift this morning when Dan and I went out skiing. Someone tried to kill the lifty. Someone shot at him. Dan takes back my jacket as I hold it in his direction. Keep it, I say. I don't think I'll be wearing it again anyway. He hands it back to Yvette, her hand touching his, head tilting sideways like one of those lucky cats, her voice low and soft. I know who shot him. It was the boy I saw in the forest. It was Nicholas, she says.